We have Lori Richardson on here today. She's a Rockstar Art of Homeownership partner. And what we covered last week was really working through with Mark the different roles within Art of Homeownership and what each person really plays within the platform and just the whole Art of Homeownership process. So today, what we're going to be touching on is just ways that Lori has really taken it and run with the platform and different things. She kind of puts her own spin on some of the presentations that we have, and she's been really impactful with it. So just hearing from her, the impact that it's had with her clients and her partnerships, and then we'll be running through her presentation before the pre-consultation and then also the post-close. So as we run through, Lori, if it's okay with you, if anyone has questions, put them in the chat, and then we can find a good stopping point, a few points throughout the presentation, and get those answered.
Absolutely.
So first of all, welcome, Lori. Thank you so much for jumping on with us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So we'll go ahead and dive into it. Just for some background, Lori, can you tell everyone a little bit about your business, how long you've been in the industry, how many team members you have, and then when you signed up with Art of Homeownership?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take notes too. So I've been in the business for a really long time. I'm in my 35th year this year in the business. And I have an amazing team, and a lot of the marketing stuff that you guys will see is actually created by them. So I wish I could take credit for it. I cannot. I have 9 members on my team, and I started with Art of Homeownership. Oh my gosh, so here's the real deal. I think I've been doing Art of Homeownership for the last 15 years. I just wasn't smart enough to brand it the way that Ryan did. Yeah. So when I saw it all together, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so brilliant. It's everything that we do, but it gives me a way to actually tell clients, look, here's what it's going to be like for the next 30 years. This is not one and done. So I think we've officially, and I apologize, you guys, I have an awful sinus infection. I think we've been officially a part of Art of Homeownership as it stands for 2 years. I think, but talking about it for probably 2 years before that. So feels like a long time.
So how many different team members do you have, as far as, do you have like the production partner one? Do you have any of like the key roles that we talk about in Art of Homeownership?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you guys, I have modeled after Ryan's business. I loved, part of the draw to me for Art of Homeownership was having the just kind of pre-designated roles. And, we've all been doing it a long time. And he really just systematized it and said, here's role 1, role 2, role 3. And I have really just followed suit. So we've got a production partner 1, and I might get his and Josh's confused, but we've got a production partner 1, like a loan officer, a production partner 1, a loan officer assistant. And then we have 3 people on the back. So a transaction coordinator and then 2 processing assistants. And then I have 2 really amazing marketing folks as well. One who runs our marketing and one who helps with that. And so we, like hook, line, and sinker, if you look at the structure of it, it's very similar to what Ryan created.
Okay, that's awesome. And going off of what we kind of talked about with Mark last week, like what really high level, what do all of those roles play in your process? So like with Art of Homeownership, the pre-consultation, doing the intake call, that kind of thing, like where do all those different tasks fall?
Well, if we call them lanes, excuse me, my lane is to be out coaching, teaching, training, right, creating business, generating leads. And then my production partner 1, excuse me, her name is Kim. And she will have the conversation with the client and do what we call the goals and dreams call. I think Ryan calls it that as well. And then we're really trying to figure out what are their financial goals, what's important to them, where are they now, where do they want to be. We send them to apply online. Once they have applied online, then our production partner 2 jumps in, gathers docs, reviews everything, completes the full really pre-approval. His name is Jeff, and he's amazing and can literally, he's like a pre-underwriter. And then we have a loan officer assistant who helps with just kind of managing all of that following up with people. So that's really our front end, and our front end is responsible from essentially lead to contract. And they're doing follow-up calls, conditional approval calls during the week. Hey, how are you doing? What are you finding? They're calling our agents during the week saying, hey, what letters do you need? Who's shopping this week or this weekend that we can help prepare you for? who's in your pipeline that's stuck that we can call and talk to. Once we go under contract, then our back-end teams swings into action, and that's Gabrielle, Kelly, and Carrie. And they basically, there's a single point of contact. One of them will jump in and process that file and take it to the end. And then either Kim or I will follow up and do that post-closing call, which we'll talk about today. Probably the single biggest thing that I wish somebody would have taught me, 15 years ago, is the post-closing call. Just to kind of wrap it up and find out, we're asking as we're going, are we giving 5-star service? How are you doing? What can, how has the service been? But then that post-closing call really wraps it up and kind of sets the momentum for the relationship going forward for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years into the future. I probably won't be here in 50 years, but I'd be 105 at that point, but someone will be here to help you. So
that's awesome. Okay. And you kind of went into it a little bit, but where do you really see your role with Art of Homeownership? We kind of worked through this last week. It's like a lot of the time, I think the advisor comes in and wants to like delegate it a lot to someone else. So with the exception of working it into your conversations, what role do you play with the Art of Homeownership system?
That's a great question. I mean, I think for me, it's really casting the vision for the importance of it. Excuse me, not only for within our own team, but also to our partners and to our clients. We are really doing, like I said, my marketing team, we're kind of kicking into high gear this year with a true social media campaign. We're focusing on kind of like concepts for a period of time, like camping on it, like you mentioned, and I think it was 2 calls ago. But really figuring out, number one, I have to be the most educated person in my market as it relates to real estate finance, right? And well, actually all things finance. So I spend a lot of time reading and curating content and making sure that I understand the current tax code, and like all of those things will play into that so that I can help my team give the best possible counsel when those people come in. So I think that's a huge part of it. And then having those conversations, like I said, not only with our team and making sure we're a preferred lender for Rick Edelman, and he's just one of my favorite financial planners. And so spending time listening to his podcast and making sure that we're up on all the most, the things that make the most sense, but also simplifying it in a way that our clients can understand. So having those conversations with my team, our strategic partners, our clients for sure, and Facebook and social media. I'm really trying to just get that out there. As Ryan said in the business planning session earlier this year, like the most important thing, or the best referral source we can have this year and probably well into the future, is we're getting people calling us saying, hey, I'm not even sure if I'm ready to do anything yet, but my friend Mary said I should call you. Or I saw your Facebook post about just education and I want to start the dialogue. And so creating those people, kind of reaching out and building a basket and saying, we've got a place for you to come. You can let all your defenses down. We're not going to sell you anything. We want to help. So does that answer your question, or is that too broad?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great info. Okay. And what was kind of the process of educating your team, or like what level of comfortability do they have with Art of Homeownership and the whole concept? And how did they really go about getting to that level?
They're all 100%. I'm teasing. They all really get it though. I think when we looked at Art of Homeownership, the reason that it was such a fit for us is because it was already how we did business, right? We were already doing annual financial reviews. We were making a lot of the financial recommendations that we're making now. We were giving counsel in all these different areas. And when my team saw it, it took a while, and I'll show you the wheel that we created, because I mean, I'll tell you, there's so much to it. Ryan says that's the biggest, people are like, oh my God, there's so much to it. And it's true. And you kind of, what I found is sorry, excuse me, I had to kind of take it apart and put it back together based on all the tools that we have available and the way that I think and the way that we bring value and content to our clients. So once I did that, it was magical. And then I took that to my team and said, look, we're already doing all these things. And I designed a wheel to just kind of show that to the client that this is going to continue to go around every single year, right? We're going to be adding tools, doing your annual financial review, helping you build your net worth through real estate, so on and so forth. But we've also got some tools, and where do they fit on the wheel? So when I did that, that's when I took it to my team and said, okay, here's the big picture concept. I had them, we worked through each, we've got 5 pillars on the wheel, and we just worked through each one of them each week. And maybe sometimes for 2 weeks, because it really took a little while to, to break it all out. And then I had all of my team members enroll in every single service so that they understand what home concierge is. They're getting a real estate wealth digest. They've played around on Home Scout, is something that we use that's in addition to it, but just so they really could understand it. And the light went on for them in terms of going, look, this is not step 1 of this transaction is not the loan application, it's closing, right? That's step 1. Now steps, 2 through 77 are going to occur for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And they really started to see the big picture of it. So I kind of took each one of our team members through it as if they were a client, is really the bottom line. That's what we did. Because there is a lot to it to understand.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. I think for anyone that hasn't gone through it themselves and known kind of the client experience and what they're getting, I think that's a really impactful thing for not only yourself, but your team to go through, just so you get that buy-in and you get them to understand it at a higher level. That's
And
great.
it's been a while since I've seen, I know the site has changed a little bit, but I also had them listen to a couple of the videos that Ryan did, because he does such a great job of just kind of doing high level vision. That's really where my very first start was, hey, y'all, I'm learning this. You guys watch these videos, and then I'm going to come back to you and tell you how it will work for us, but understand the basics from Ryan.
Yeah, that's great. So how have you, this can kind of be the transition into how you have created the wheel, the presentations. How have you really taken Art of Homeownership, the system, and made it your own and kind of put your own spin on it, how you relay it to clients?
Yes, so that we can transition to that. So I think the biggest thing that I found was I had all this knowledge in my head, and I knew that we we're going to be able to take such amazing care of these clients forever, right? But it's really hard to just show up at a, when you're talking to a prospective client, right? They haven't even chosen us yet, and say, hey, I'm going to do all these 14,000 things for you. And usually it just, at the very beginning, I just felt like, gosh, it's just going to sound like I'm showing up and throwing up, right? And there's no method to the madness, and it just sounds too good to be true. So we took that, and like I said, I kind of took everything apart, and I implemented Ryan's pre-closing or pre-purchase consultation, which is an actual presentation that we either do face-to-face with the client or via Zoom, most times via Zoom these days. And then I implemented the post-closing call. Excuse me. And the pre-purchase consultation, I'll share my screen here in a second, really took us through, gave us the ability to help the client see, like with their eyes, what are you going to get for, going forward. And I can't remember where I read it, but I read that people appreciate what they learn or what they discover more than what we tell them. So our whole presentation is designed to help them discover all of the things going on in the market. And I'll kind of show you a high level of a couple things at the very beginning, just saying, here's what's coming. Then the post-closing call is kind of that, that summary piece where we kind of cinch everything together and go, okay, we're not done. That was step 1. And now we're going to help you manage this debt. We know we just helped you create one of the largest debts you'll ever have, right? Unless you buy a really big boat or a business, this is probably it. And now we'll help you manage it going forward. The change that we made to that, which has been just a game changer, is we also made the post-closing call a PowerPoint presentation so they can physically see some of the tools again that they're going to get. And so that's what I thought I would show you. Does that work? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be able to share your screen, I think.
All right. So do you see Mastering the Art of Homeownership for Ryan Grant?
Yep. Looks great.
Okay. All right, cool. So this is our pre-purchase consultation. And we just, again, sit down with people and kind of run through the details. Excuse me. You'll see all the verbiage, that Ryan has shared all the time, all the way through. We really want to, let them know that we want them to be an educated, empowered, and confident home buyer. And there's 3 steps to our process, right? Before, during, and after. Before is right now. We're helping you do all the heavy lifting, understand what your financial goals are, really get clarity on that. Make sure that, even you may qualify for more than you want to spend, which is totally okay. And we're going to walk you through that. During, and then after is really, I kind of focus on that and say, really, I get really excited if we're doing our job right. Our relationship really begins after closing. So we're kind of setting the stage from slide number 2, going forward. We walk a little bit through the process. Step 1 is discovery, understanding what your financial goals are. strategy. By this time, we have actually run the numbers and we are ready to prepare, or we're ready to present our numbers via Edge, so Mortgage Coach Edge. And we're just kind of walking through strategy saying, we spent some time in discovery understanding what you really want. Now we're going to talk about what we recommend based on what your financial goals are. Execution is when we go under contract, and then wealth maximization. And this is going to happen over time. We know your life is going to continue to evolve and change over time. And so we'll be there to help you make good decisions going forward and make sure that your mortgage always fits and that there are a lot of other pieces to the puzzle, right? Integrate that loan into the rest of your financial plan. And here's where I put a note here. This is actually our client slide. And this is the wheel that I talked about before. We tell all of our clients, we built our tool is mastering the art of homeownership. That's what we really want to help you do. That's our end goal. But everything that we recommend for you is going to be built around your goals. And so your goals are right here in the center. And no two presentations that we make in any given day are the same because people's goals are different at the end of the day, right? So what this means to you, Mr. Client, is we're going to help you understand market dynamics, and we're going to give you some wealth building tools. And those may change from year to year, right? We're going to upgrade and find new tools that we'll share with you. We're going to help you understand current market conditions and just understand where the market is right now. We make what's called the perfect mortgage promise. So after closing, like I said, we're not done. We have the ability to set a rate trigger for you that will make sure that it's kind of like a rate alert. When and if we see the market move to a level that makes sense for you to do something with your mortgage, we will notify you. So you don't have to listen to the loan arranger. We have the loan arranger. I hope the loan arranger is not on our thing, but saying, oh, it's time to refinance and you can save $300 a month. That may or may not make sense for you financially at that point, but we'll help you gauge that. We'll offer you a home concierge. Everybody on this call knows what that is. But we just basically say we want to help you proactively keep your home in great shape over time, so that when you go to sell it, we have help you maximize the value of it. We kind of go into what that is. We'll do an annual financial review for you once a year. Again, Mr. Client, just to make sure that you're making the best decisions for your family. And we know that, again, a lot of things change over time. Even with COVID, I'll give the example of, I called it 2 clients last week and I said, gosh, your rate looks great. Rates are a little bit higher than they are right now. So there's nothing we need to do. And they're like, oh, Lori, we're moving. We work for Google. We have to work from home until 2026. Our home no longer fits us. And so there are 2 transactions that we can help people, move up. All with the goal of helping you maximize your wealth through real estate over time. So I added one slide that our clients don't see. And I built this, when I put it all together, I told you I took it all apart and I put it back together. This was the first slide that I created. And this is really what we show agents now. But, it just helps you. This is where I took and I said, okay, of all the tools that we are currently using, where are they going to fit under these categories? First, I had to create the categories, right? But for us, the market dynamics and wealth building tools are our market updates. We do a lot with video market updates. We're doing things right now talking about what's happening with rates and what are you hearing on the news, and how when the Fed really increases rates, look at what it actually has typically a good impact on interest rates. You're not going to hear that in the media. We use an app called Home Scout. The monthly real estate wealth digest fits here. Sold Home Alert is another app that we use. Pre-sale renovation financing, you guys are familiar with that. The trade up program, the updater relocation service, and the wealth workshop that we are getting ready to teach. The perfect mortgage promise, pretty self-explanatory, home concierge, but this just kind of helps our agents kind of build out and say, okay, when we're going through an annual financial review, we're talking about protection, making sure that, especially right now, I'm sure you guys saw across the nation, we had the Marshall fires that hit northern Denver on New Year's Eve, and literally 550 homes burned within a couple of hours to the ground. So making sure that people have the appropriate level of insurance when we do that annual financial review. We talk through financial planning, generational wealth planning. Got a lot of people that have lost parents to COVID, and the other parent is struggling, and now maybe we're looking at generational wealth planning and all the things that you guys already know. And then just really helping them see that all of this is really to help you create a higher level of investment in your world over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick, Lori, we had a question come in. Is this, for clarification, is this what you do in the first initial call with the client is you run through this kind of explanation, or is this
Oh,
as you
great
get?
question. We're talking about it in our initial. So the first call for us is just on the phone, and it's called a goals and dreams call, and it lasts anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And I'm really just kind of trying to understand, who are you? What are your goals? I introduce the concept of the art of home, mastering the art of homeownership. And I'm saying at that point, this is not one and done for us. I'm going to ask you some questions that might sound kind of weird coming from a mortgage banker, right? I want to know how you're doing as it relates to retirement and kids' college education savings. And let me just take some notes right now and kind of earning their trust. Then they go apply online. And then this is the presentation that we see once we've gathered their documentation, we've put together the total cost analysis for them. And now we're actually ready to present those numbers to them. And this is the strategy session. Does that make sense?
Okay,
So step
great.
one is the call discovery. Step two is strategy. And this is what leads into that.
Okay.
Make sense?
And what do you, so on that first initial call, it's very high level, like you're telling them how you're different, you're going to help them maximize wealth through real estate, maximize their wealth over time. And then that ultimately gets you to that second, this strategy call.
Right. It is high level, Val, but it's also, I'm asking lots of questions saying, okay, help me to understand. We do business a little bit differently than most lenders, and we really want to understand what your goals are. We really want to help you integrate this loan into the rest of your financial plan. So I want to ask you some questions so I really know what you want. You may qualify for more than you want to spend, which is totally okay. But today I want to understand your goals. I know, let's say it's a purchase. I know you're thinking about buying a home. Give me an idea. So let's talk time frame. Let's talk location. How much do you think you need to spend? How much do you want to put down? Where is it coming from? You know, all the goals that we just, so that we understand, excuse me, what they're trying to accomplish. But then also going into, when would you like to be mortgage free? When would you like to retire? And you may not have all these answers. You might be, 35 years old, and we're just kind of unpacking this for the first time, and that's totally okay. I'm going to do an annual financial review every year, so the answers you give me today don't have to stand for the rest of your life. But it kind of sets the stage for, we're asking all these questions, and then I'm going to have you apply online, and then I'm going to look at your information, and based on what you told me, I'm going to marry your goals together with your information, and then we're going to come and we're going to make a strategy recommendation. And by the end of the goals and dreams call, most times our clients feel like, wow, that was totally different than anything I've ever gotten. We haven't really given them anything other than our time and our energy in terms of thinking, and maybe our care, so that they know this is more than a transaction to us. We don't measure ourselves by the, Ryan says this all the time. We don't measure ourselves by how many transactions we do, or even how many families we help, but how successful our clients become. And we can't help you become as successful as you want to be if we don't know your goals. So if I just run numbers for you and I don't understand when you want to retire, or I don't know that you're working on kids' college education, we might make a recommendation on the mortgage side that doesn't really fit, right? Because you can't do those other things. So that the goals and dreams call is to really understand what they're trying to accomplish and help them understand that if we do it right, a mortgage loan can be a great tool to help them build their net worth in all these different areas. If we do it wrong, or we don't ask the right questions, it can have a devastating impact. So they really, at the end of that, they understand this is going to be really different and really powerful. And then my directive to them is go forth and conquer the loan application, come back, and then we'll put together all of this in a way that makes sense for you financially. And we'll kind of help you outline an action plan, whether it's an action plan for the next 30, 40, 60, 90 days while you're buying a home, or some people need more than that, right? And we just kind of meet them wherever they are.
That's great. Okay. And I think that answered David's question, but just to make sure, so this strategy call, are they pre-approved going into this session?
Generally speaking, they are. What we're communicating, in fact, I'll fast forward through a couple of these. We talk a little bit about mortgage rates, and people are really stressed out about rates right now, right? We know what the history of mortgage rates have been, and I'm just kind of reminding people, don't forget, rates are still really great. We talk about real estate being a hedge against inflation. We talk a little bit about inventory and why. The big elephant in the room right now is, okay, why don't we have enough inventory? And you guys have all seen all these slides. So I'm going to just fast forward through them. If you haven't, there are great recordings in here. But helping them understand we're exactly the opposite of where we were in 2007, 2008, right? I want them to understand, if they were to purchase a home in 2022, and we customize this slide for whatever this client happens to be buying at around the $750,000 price point, and we're helping them see, hey, here's what we're anticipating going forward with an average of appreciation is we're expecting 5.2%. In Colorado, that will probably be very low. Let's even just take that back to the 3-year history, or literally the history since we started tracking a home price appreciation in 1934. It's been 3.68%. Even if we just cut that to 3%, and let's say appreciation just drops off, look at what happens to your net worth over the next 5 years by purchasing rather than not, right? Burn that number into your brain when it gets hard, and we know it's a tough market, and you're going to be walking up to a house and your showings are going to get canceled right as you're ready to knock on the door. Just remember, $119,000 is generally speaking worth keeping going, right? And it's really probably more like 240,000, really.
Yeah.
But just then we get to a couple of the tools. I'm going to skip through these, and if anybody wants more details, I'm happy to walk people through it. We talked through home concierge, understanding your personal economy. This is one of my favorite concepts, and this is where we actually present the numbers. There may be a difference between what you can do and what you should do, right? That whole just because you can click a button and get a mortgage doesn't mean you should. And this is where we're actually telling them they're pre-qualified or they are pre-approved. There's only one slide in there based on if they're pre-approved, then we're kind of camping on that. And then we basically are walking through, this is where we actually jump into Edge, and we cut stuff out of this presentation. We go into the total cost analysis, and we're actually walking them through their numbers so that they can see that. And this is where we communicate that. We talk through the contract meeting, how to reach us. And essentially, we just remind them at this point that this is really just the beginning. Now you're pre-approved. We're going to follow with letters. We're going to get in touch with your agents. But this just keeps going round and round and round forever for the rest of your life. And, as long as you want us. And then kind of reminding them of our 4 promises to them. So this is now you're pre-approved. We're super excited to be working with you. We're going to get in touch with your agent. Sometimes we'll have the agent on this call, or we'll bring the agent on at the end of this call to, just kind of solidify and bring everything together. But that now they're pre-approved and they start shopping. That makes sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. So then that is really the beginning part of it. And that really, in my opinion, sets us up for hopefully a great relationship with them. Oops, sorry. To get everything going. And then we go from, I'll share my screen again. And now we've gone through the, tell me if you see the champagne going.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So they've shopped. We've kept them in the loop. We've introduced different tools. One of the things, actually, I just met with Scott Fowler last week that we're thinking about doing is introducing the home concierge at the very beginning, right? When they're pre-approved, in case they need to carpet or paint or do something to get their home ready. And I thought that's a brilliant idea. So we're probably going to shift that up a little bit. But so then we go through the process, they go under contract. Hopefully it's a great seamless experience. We've kind of been maybe helping them fulfill some of the other goals. Maybe they need help with a will or a trust or estate planning or something. And they go under contract, they close, everything's great. And now we are doing our post-closing call. The biggest thing I've found with this is we're setting up that post-closing call from the very beginning. So we tell people we're going to give you our closing gift at our post-closing call. So they're looking forward to it. Our processing team and our sales team is talking about that post-closing call through the transaction. But when we're scheduling closing and getting ready, we're actually scheduling the post-closing call. So it happens usually, our goal is to have it happen within 48 hours of closing. And then we schedule a Zoom call just like we scheduled their pre-purchase consultation, or we do it in person. Mostly, again, this is Zoom call. So now we're saying, oh my gosh, Ryan, we are so excited. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for giving us the chance to help. We kind of want to run through, again, as we said at the beginning, this is not the end, it's really the beginning. And we now our relationship really kind of kicks into high gear. So we talk about the importance and safety of closing docs. So many people are getting electronic docs these days that I'm like, did you get them? Like, do you have them? Keep them someplace safe. This is kind of the housekeeping slide. We talk a little bit about their first payment due date. You guys will see the script that Ryan wrote for that call. I just basically took and built slides around this. We talk about servicing. If your loan gets transferred, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We're still your mortgage banker forever. We talk about the fact that they're going to get mail from every single bottom feeder lender in America, right? But if it doesn't have our logo on it, and I just added this because somebody said, you should put your logo on the screen. I'm like, that's a good idea. So a lot of them are designed to look like they're from Cornerstone, but they're really not. So, look for our logos. I wish I could stop all that mail from coming to you. I can't, but just throw it away. And if you have questions, again, we're going to be here to help for the next 30 years. Then we kind of run into just running through, is there anybody you want us to share your information with? Your CPA, your tax planning attorney, anybody right this very moment? No, not right now. Okay, well, if you do need it later, let me know. And if you have somebody amazing on your team, I'd love to meet them. And so it kind of gives us the ability for them to go, you know what, you need to talk to my financial planner because he's an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? We're kind of now bringing it back to them. Mastering the Art of Homeownership is all encompassing platform that you are now a part of, right? You're a member of it because you're closed. It doesn't cost you anything, but that toolbox is yours. And by the way, it's available to anyone you know. So if there's anyone in your world who's even just thinking about doing something right now, please have us reach out to them or have them reach out to us, because we'll do the same darn thing for them that we did for you, even if they're not ready yet. It's totally okay. We kind of go through the wheel again and just help them, remind them at this point, here's all the tools you're going to get. We just went through that. We walk through the wealth building market dynamics and the tools. Really, now we're just telling them you can still use Home Scout to see what's on the market. We're reintroducing, and this is why I love doing this via video instead of via call, because they can see the HomeBot logo. I can tell them, here's what it's going to look like. It's going to, it's going to have a big pink number right in the middle. But I'm just telling them, we want you, the Real Estate Wealth Digest is like an interactive bank statement for your home. So we really want you to be able to have access to that information. And it's going to come once a month, and you need to, you can just kind of see where values are going, and we'll help you with that. It has some tools in it that will just help you understand the equity you've built in your home, right? And how to use it to your advantage over time. And we kind of dig into that a little bit. And I just tell people, we want this to be the most accurate accounting of the real estate value in your home anywhere online. So I also tell them here, there's a little tune value button here. So once every 6 months or so, click on that tune value, and we're going to reach out to your agent, because again, we want this to be the most accurate of your value of your real estate online. KZB, can you text Bob? He just called me 3 times. I'm so sorry. Perfect mortgage promise. We're just kind of walking them through again. You're going to have questions as you go through this process, and it's totally fine. Should I refinance, lower my payment? You guys know all these questions. We're kind of walking them through going, these questions are going to come. It's totally natural, and we will be here to help you either at the annual financial review, or you're going to call and make that 4 times. You're going to call and have a question in between times, and that's totally okay. Then we talk through the home concierge. We let them know that this is coming and that it's like having a personal assistant for your home. This is where I really try to get people revved up about it. Like, you absolutely want this. It's not going to cost you anything. I purposely, intentionally put this House Happy. I want them to see the logo. We're letting them know that we'll send somebody out to do a 300-point inspection of your home. You can do that via Zoom, or you can skip it if you want. Sometimes COVID people are like, I'm not sure I want that. But now we'll come out and do that. They'll make a note of your paint colors, and they'll measure your windows, and they'll make a note of your HVAC system. And then you'll just kind of get tips and reminders. Hey, it's time to change your air filter. And oh, by the way, here's the one you need, because we made a note when we were standing in your basement. And usually people are like, oh my gosh, that would be great. And I'm reminding them at this point, here's a great place to keep all your warranty information. So the warranty info on your dishwasher and on your refrigerator and all these different things. You can track all that information. I have it on all of my real estate, and it simplifies everything, right? And then talk a little bit about the concierge. If you need a plumber or a roofer, these are all people that we've vetted and we know are going to take really, really great care of you. But ultimately, the tips and tricks to just kind of keep that house in great shape over time. We're reminding them at this point that we're going to be doing the annual financial review, and we'll be working through over time. Sometimes we have clients right now that they've blown through their emergency fund, right, because of COVID. We'll talk about paying off high cost debts. We'll talk about significant liquidity events that are coming up if you are planning for college education or a wedding or, something that's, retirement, that kind of thing. And just over time, making sure that they're in the right, in the right loan, reminding them, we're going to help you evaluate your insurance coverage every single year. We'll talk through financial planning. If you need a financial planner, we'll be happy to make a recommendation because we work with some of the best in the business. Excuse me, we kind of, I have spent a little bit of time on generational wealth planning because I think there's a lot of sandwich generation people like me, right? Raising a child and, helping parents at the same time. Talking through real estate planning, about what you may want to own later. Are there any things that you're thinking about right now? And credit and debt management. Oh, we're offering that to a lot of our clients' kids so that they, we're a resource. If you have somebody who's graduating from college and they're not really sure where to start or how to get a credit card or whatever, we are happy to have a conversation with them. And then maximizing wealth through real estate, again, just kind of walking them through some of the pieces, knowing that things are going to continue to evolve and change. And then I purposely ask them, is there anything you want help with right now? And I don't really read the slide to them, but I say, we've got a lot of clients that have a lot of stuff going on. You guys just closed on a home and I get it. That's a life event in and of itself. But is there anything else that you want on our radar screen so that when we do our annual financial review that, I can have data ready for you, or we can be funneling information to you? And literally, I'm not kidding you, probably 8 out of 10 people on these calls will say, you know what, we would love to buy a second home. We've been hearing you talk about that for a really long time. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm writing down, okay, we want to look at purchasing a second home, or I would love to do an investment property. And we're literally originating the next loan before we've almost, the ink is dry on this loan. So this is a really, really important slide that I underestimated the value of, because we're kind of getting into people's psyche going, all of these things that might happen or that might be important to you will help you fit into your life, but tell me what they are right now. And you don't have to make a commitment that you're ready right now, but I want to know so that we can be, curating content that's going to help you. And then I can send them articles or ideas or suggestions as we go. And I'm making notes in my annual mortgage review file so that when we do their annual financial review, we've got all of that information and we kind of come back to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. This is so impressive, Lori.
One of my favorites. We talk through the pre-sale renovation program, and I tell people, like, here's the deal. You just moved, and so I know you don't need this, but I guarantee you there's someone in your world who does. And so we really want to help. We want all of our clients to never have to sell their real estate without maximizing the value of it. So we just kind of explain it's a no cost. I know it sounds too good to be true, but there's no cost, there's no interest, and there's no hidden fees to people who use this. But maybe your next door neighbor is thinking about selling their home. They really need to recarpet. They'd rather not, and we probably wouldn't recommend it either. They'd rather not spend all their cash on the carpet before they sell. Use the pre-sale renovation program, and all they have to do is pay it back when they close. And I give the example of maybe their home is worth $500,000 today. We know carpet's going to cost $8,000, but they're going to be able to sell it for $5,250, right? So they're going to net more by using this program. Don't let any of your friends or family sell their home without at least looking at this, because it really could make a difference to their net worth.
Yeah.
So, and then the last one, this is one of my favorite pieces. I told Ryan about this long ago, talking about a home video inventory. So one of my daughter's tutor's home burned down I guess it's been about 7 years ago now. And literally about 2 months before this happened, I had done a video thanks to one of my insurance agents. He said, Lori, every single one of your clients should be doing a home video inventory. And this was a long time ago. And I was like, what a great idea, because my video or my inventory at that point was on a sheet of paper in my desk, in my office, in my home. Right. So if my home burns down, guess what happens to my inventory? Hello. Now, right. I think at that point it might have been in my safety deposit box, but still, paper, manual. So I just tell people the story of, her name is Ginger. And we had done this video, and Ginger was a former school teacher, and school teachers are such rule followers. We love them. And so essentially all you have to do is walk through your home, like literally with your smartphone, and take a home video and inventory. And I say, open up your pantry and your soft drawer and just everything. You don't have to narrate it. Your home doesn't have to look perfect. Hopefully, by the grace of God, no one will ever need it. But when you do, it is a lifesaver. So please do me a favor, by the time you make your first mortgage payment, and we're sending a reminder the day before their first mortgage payment, hey, did you do your home video inventory? But I tell the story of Ginger. She did the home inventory literally a couple weeks after we sent our video, and 2 weeks to the day after she did her home video inventory, her home burned down. Her next door neighbor was grilling. They weren't home. His grill caught fire. It was really windy. The fire jumped from her neighbor's deck to Ginger and Randy's deck. They lost the whole back half of their house. I still can't tell the story without getting chills. And when you lose the back half of your house to smoke or to fire, you lose the front to smoke. So they lost everything.
Yeah.
And the next day, her insurance agent brought her a blank piece of paper and said, please write down everything you owned. And you're in a state of like shock anyway. But imagine having a video to be able to go through and go, oh yeah, I had 74 spoons. And oh yeah, I had my grandma's, tea set. And so we're just kind of saying this has nothing to do with your mortgage loan, but everything to do with making sure that you are adequately protected and taken care of going forward. So please do it. I'll give you $1. Literally, when people send me a note, I send them $1 in the mail. It's kind of fun. And then just kind of wrapping up, just saying, hey, we always want to get better. We always want to sharpen the saw. Tell us what we can do to get better. What did you think of the service to our team? And usually they've given feedback to this point going, oh my gosh, your team is so awesome. At this point, and in fact, I need to add something in here about our survey where we will send out a survey. If usually the feedback is, oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing. And Kelly did this and Jeff did that and Kim did this. And I'll say, hey, can I send you a quick survey? Would you mind? Our goal is to provide 5-star service to our clients. And it means so much to my team when they hear it from you. I can go and tell them, oh my gosh, Mary said you guys were awesome. But when I can read something that you have written at our team meeting, that's when really hearts get changed. So would you mind? And they're like, yeah, we'd be happy to do that. So they do. And then anything that stood out to you about our service, anything that, maybe it was pink and you wanted it to be purple. We always want to try to get better for that. And then we're just, kind of reminding them again, this is just the beginning. We're just a phone call away. Yes, we're going to do an annual financial review that will be, pre-scheduled, and we'll find a time to do it. But we're here in the meantime. So if you need anything, call us. We're going to miss you. So call us all the time anyway. And, just reminding them of our 4 promises to them. So that call alone, because first doing the call was just huge, because it was kind of like we could have this really great experience and we've told them, hey, we're going to work with you forever. But something would always kind of, I think, get lost in translation, and they would meet a mortgage banker at church or, whatever. And doing the call kind of brought it together where it's like, this is just the beginning. It's a reminder. You're closed now. That was step 1. Now step 2 is I've set a rate trigger for you, blah, blah, blah. Then when we changed it to the visual presentation, we started to get amazing feedback, because now they can physically see the tools and we can explain to them, here's what it's going to look like. And we're really just kind of setting the stage for the next 30 years. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, I think the biggest takeaway for me is, and I think it's probably really impactful with clients, is you're always explaining why they're doing something. So you want to do this home inventory video. This is why you should do it. And I think all those little pieces are really communicating to the client that you genuinely care about them outside of just getting the commission on their mortgage, because it's being a successful homeowner, covering yourself, making sure that your investment is safe and your house is safe. So that was incredibly impactful. We already have people asking for it. So if you'd be so gracious enough to share the slides with the rest of the team.
I'm happy to. And just to bag on your, or to add on that comment, Val, we really do care. And everyone that's part of Art of Homeownership that I have met, and I've been with Ryan where he's talked to somebody who said, that's not our guy. Those are not our people. Because we really do want, I'm really passionate about fixing this massive financial literacy crisis that we have not just in the United States, but in the world. And this is one way to do it, is to educate people and give without regard to receipt, right? And so if people can start to understand this piece of it, Ryan calls it story selling. So anytime we can tell the Ginger story about a house burning down, it's one thing to tell people, yep, do this home inventory. But when you tell someone, oh my gosh, to have someone completely and totally devastated, looking at a blank sheet of paper going, it really helps them to understand. And we really want them to understand the why of all of this. The downside in our industry is that nobody really wants the mortgage, right? Nobody's like, I'm so excited, I'm gonna go get a mortgage today. Like, that's not, like, said no one ever. But what they really want, and that's why I think our pre-purchase consultation and our discovery call is so important, is to figure out, what is it that you really want? And sometimes
Mhm.
people don't know yet, right? Maybe they don't have a budget. Maybe their parents didn't really teach them a lot about financial planning, but they have a sense of, we're kind of starting to ask that question of, okay, so when would you like to retire? Do you have any? Well, I haven't even really thought about that. And we're just kind of giving them some roads and a map to be able to start thinking about these things. And I tell them, you don't have to know all these answers right now. It's totally okay. But let's start asking the questions, because the questions you ask yourself will get answered somehow, some way in your life. And so
Yeah.
if we're asking those questions right now and getting a sense of those pieces, we can help you put all the puzzle pieces together once you have a sense of what you're looking at. I was telling Kim yesterday, I did a discovery call for a client, and I said they're looking at purchasing, and kind of put everything on hold last year for a reason, and now we're looking at it again. And I said, well, let's give me an update on retirement for you guys. What does retirement look like? He's 51, and he goes, well, I guess we need to start thinking about that. I'm like, yes, you need to start thinking about that. So, and I did not say that to him like that, like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what are you kidding? But it was a soft way to say, I promise you, you will never regret starting to think about that. His name is Steve. You'll never regret starting to think about that for you and Amy right now, Steve, because the sooner we ask that question, the sooner we can start putting pieces in place to help you get where you want to be. And your mortgage will be a part of that. We don't know exactly what that'll look like yet. And that's why I want to know. And I asked a couple more questions. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to go back to my little laboratory and put it all together and come back and say, okay, based on what you told me, how old you are right now, when you want to retire, what you want retirement to look like, and what your income is going to look like at that point, here's what we recommend.
Mhm.
Make
Wow.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and we covered, I mean, I know we went through the content pretty quickly. There was a few questions that came up for me. But
Okay.
for starters, Brent had asked, how long do those calls typically take with the client, both the pre-consultation and then the post-close call?
The goals and dreams is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how it goes. The pre-purchase consultation, we were spending an hour, but we're really trying to get that down to a half an hour. And I know
Okay.
it seems like there's a lot of content in there, but once you get good at just kind of rolling through some of those things, some people are going to want more details on some, and sometimes I'll pull out some of the slides, right? Maybe it's a first-time home buyer, or maybe I'm just adding the real estate as a hedge against inflation, because I think that's really on people's hearts right now, going, should I be buying right now? We need to be addressing that. And so we're kind of constantly shifting those, like taking out these 5 slides and replacing them with these 2. And we will modify them based on the client that we talk to. A first-time home buyer, we probably are going to pull out a little bit of the content because we don't want them to feel totally overwhelmed. An engineer gets all of it, in the kitchen sink.
Mhm.
So we're really shooting for 30 minutes. I would say on average, they really are 40 minutes. The
Okay.
pre-purchase consultation, running through the numbers, making our strategy recommendation. And then the post-closing calls are 30 minutes. I have not been able to get them to be shorter than 30 minutes because we're engaging with them. Usually they're asking questions, they're taking notes, going, oh, that's a great idea. I think if you really pushed it, you could probably get it done in 20 minutes, but I'm kind of looking at this as an investment in our relationship going forward, and really bonding and connecting with them. So I'd say 40 minutes on the pre-purchase and 30 minutes on the pre-closing or the post-closing call. But this is literally some of my favorite time and the best investments that we can make. And
Yeah.
we're just getting ready to build out the annual mortgage review. When we're doing the annual mortgage review, it's probably going to look something like this, where we're kind of talking through. It used to be that we would just call and say, okay, tell me how you're doing. Like the goals and dream called, no a video AV or anything. But I think there's such value in going, okay, here's the wheel, right? We're going to talk about all these things, but remember we have all these tools over here too. And they might go, oh, I really want that tool. So altogether, that's what it looks like.
Okay. That's
And I
impressive
talk a
that you
lot.
get it to 30 minutes, because that's a lot of information. And I mean, I would suspect that the feedback that you get from clients is like overwhelmingly good, right? Like, are they ever, do you ever get a sense that they're overwhelmed with the information?
That's really, I think, meeting them where they are.
Okay.
I do think that some people can get overwhelmed in the media, and that's the other beautiful thing about being on Zoom is, and I just saw John Palmer ask a great question, and I'll come back to that in a second, John. The when the minute that we can like see them getting overwhelmed, or like we'll just kind of flip forward and go, hey, let's go to your numbers. I promise you we'll come back to this. And then we kind of make it like, that's just the process. We're going to come back and talk about this later, but not very many, because we've really kind of worked to shorten it. Josh took our presentation. I think we had like 35 slides on it, and he made it 12. And I really tried to go to that 12. And I just felt like part of it is the counsel that we're giving, particularly around interest rates right now, because what people are hearing are rates going up, and we're like, okay, wait, take rate out of the equation, because this is all about whatever your goal is: building net worth, focusing on retirement, saving for kids' education. Who cares? Rates are gonna do whatever they do. This is really what we're aiming for. So, I think we've really tried hard to find that happy medium of not overwhelming, but giving enough information that says this is really just the tip of the iceberg. And then you're going to get our videos and our blogs, and we're going to help educate you going forward in doing that.
Right.
Can I go back really quickly to John Palmer? So one of the things, when John, you asked who does what when a new executed contract comes into your team's email inbox. So our essentially our production partner 2, who has reviewed the docs and completed the pre-approval, will grab that contract and look at it. Sometimes the loan officer up front will get back involved, but usually by then we know what the strategy is. They want to put $200,000 down. They want their payment to be this, and as long as we're within that realm, then Jeff runs with it, gets it locked. And we do the under contract, we kind of go through all the things that were on the under contract slide, talking about, okay, do you still want to put 200 grand down? Has there anything that's changed? If there's something radical, like let's say they spent 700 and they really only wanted to spend 400, then we're probably going to get back involved on the loan officer side and go, okay, we said this, we're doing this, you're certainly qualified for it. Let's just make sure that we're still tracking on that. And then essentially we get it locked, and we do what's called a launch to our processing team, which is kind of getting an update on source of funds, docs, all that stuff, kind of getting the big picture for the client. And then we make a really seamless handoff to our processing team saying, here's the big why. We kind of boil whatever the client's looking to do down into 1 or 2 sentences. And we make that part of every communication within our team, so that if somebody is really excited about buying a home to build their net worth, then everyone on my team is using those words. Oh my gosh, we're so excited for you. What a great way to help you build your net worth. Somebody else might be, I just need to downsize. My house is too much. And so then my team is saying, hey, we're so excited for you. This house looks like the perfect place for you to downsize in. So we're all kind of just talking about it in the client's terms, but then we hand it off to processing, and our processing group has the communication with the client from that point forward, unless they need us to do something. And we meet as a team every morning to kind of run through 8:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon, just to kind of run through and make sure everybody's on the same page.
That's great. I've never heard that before, but that's a really good idea. Just making sure everyone is kind of making them feel like they're making the right decision based on what they want. We are running short on time here. There's one other question. David said, are you taking them from the dreams and goals call right into the application so you can help them enter and submit it while on the call with you, or are you sending them a link to complete it?
We send them a link to complete it. Yeah, you can. Okay. I mean, Brian has said, and I've kind of played around with that. We've been working on staffing so that we have the right number of people. We haven't taken it on the phone to this point, just because I think most people have, a place where they keep it. It used to drive me crazy when people are like, I know my pay stub's around here somewhere, and you're like hearing them fumble for stuff. So yeah. I just say, look, tell me what's important to you time frame wise. When are you shopping? Okay, Friday. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to send you the link. Can you get it done tonight? It'll take you about 10 minutes to complete it, and then probably another 15 minutes to upload your documentation. Would that work for you to do tonight? And I kind of ask for a commitment. And just so I can have my team ready to go tomorrow morning. I'm just going to ask Jeff to, put aside some time. And so they're kind of making a commitment to us that, yes, we're going to get it done, and we'll get, to the next place. And if they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it this weekend, great. I'll follow up with you on Monday. And I'm going to ask Jeff to make some time on Monday just to make sure, we'll put everything together for you. And we're actually scheduling the pre-purchase consultation at that point. Okay, if you're going to do it over the weekend, then I'll have Jeff look at it on Monday. What times do you have available on Tuesday for us to run through the numbers? And we're actually scheduling it then. And then if they don't do what they said they were going to do, then we're calling to reschedule it. But most people do it. But I like the commitment of having them be like, okay, I got to do this because I told Lori I was going to do it tonight,
Right.
And then they end up doing it. So.
Great, that's
You
awesome
know?
because that's a struggle for a lot of loan officers is getting all the documents, making sure they're all coming in properly, getting every page of the bank statement. So that's good. That's really good tip.
Yep. Yep. And we kind of warn them. I will say in that call, do you have access to everything? I know this sounds really crazy, but I'm going to need all 3 pages of your bank statements, even if
Yeah.
it's blank. And so we're kind of like, I'm a big firm believer of scripting up front, right? If I tell you, here's what you need to do, generally speaking, you'll understand it and you'll do it. And if I leave it to chance, you're going to get confused.